Some would describe, your rise within the structures of Swanu as meteoric. You've only been with the party for a year, which is quite short. You had this election this past weekend, into the front seat for the party. How did you manage to convince its members to have such faith in you?
Before I answer that, if I may, let me say happy Katangana Day to yourself, the viewers. And let's remember Katangana so as not to have those mistakes repeated, but also so as to appreciate the freedom that we have, that it came through the sacrifice of others. To the question, I've been there since March of last year, but the congresses, these are meetings that take place every 5 years. So incidentally, this one was slated for April of this year, and it took place, and I had the privilege of organizing it. And during my currency or my tenure as both acting and Secretary General of the party, I had been able to perhaps persuade people, and they thought that I was fit to take over, and I did so, of course, with the blessing of the now, of course, former President Dr. Yambo. So yeah, I mean that's how simple it is. I don't think there's any other complicated explanation to that. Yeah.
You are taking charge of a party which is considered deeply divided, with Charles Kashiviri also claiming, its presidency. How do you plan on uniting the party?
Look, unity is important. Charles and his group were there at the Congress. They were suspended, of course, as you know. The Congress nonetheless went ahead and elected its leadership, the party leadership. What remains to be done now is for us to just reach out to them and invite them and see if they are willing and prepared to work for the party and move forward. I don't think we would exclude anybody, and there's no need for that. There is a court case going on, and that, in my view, would remain going on, depending on what it is that we can agree on with them that may, discourage us or have us lose our appetite to proceed with the court case. But other than that, I think as members of the party, they are free and welcome to always engage. Yeah. And we would definitely also reach out to them.
Despite being but the oldest political formation, the Swanu party still only has ever had one seat in parliament. What are your plans, and how do you plan on changing that?
Sure. We need to change those electoral misfortunes. I'm sure we can do that, and that's one of the reasons why I decided I could be of value to the party. I'm not too sure how much time we have to delve into all of the details as to how that can be achieved, but we have specific issues that are of concern to our people, which I think for the past 32 years haven't been addressed, not even adequately, but just never addressed at all. One of which, for instance, is unemployment. Unemployment has remained stubborn, double-digit levels since independence. Now it hovers around 47 or so %. It's an area that we think can be addressed, and I think we have good formulas to address it. And that ties into the place of communal agriculture in that, and how much of a role it can play in both addressing unemployment, but also dealing with the question of rural-urban migration, and that leads to the question of urban housing crisis. Then there's a question of using our natural resources to advance our people's economic interests, and not leave those natural resources as an exclusive domain in terms of ownership in the hands of foreign nationals. So look, there's a host of things that can be done to improve the current situation. And we will be working on those, pretty much different from the rest of the other political parties that are there. And as you said, I've been with the workers. You called me a former trade unionist. So there's no political party at the moment that is headed by a person who has the kind of background that I have,
right,
especially with the workers. So why not get close to the workers and allow Swanu of Namibia a chance to lead the country and not just increase parliamentary representation.
Yeah. A large chunk of that 47% of unemployed individuals you spoke of is young people, the youth of Namibia. And we know that they are the majority voting bloc in the country as well. How will you entice this, influential group, because they really are influential, how will you entice them, to vote, to sway a vote in Swanu's favor?
Look, I think any young people have the same needs as most citizens of the country. We all have the same, largely speaking, economic needs. Most of them, as you said, are unemployed. Now, if you want to win them over, you must find ways to create employment. Depending on the skills levels of the targeted young people that are in question, you would need specifically to then create projects that would fit with the skills available, and make sure that the young people participate, but not just employment, but also decent employment that would help, propel them out of poverty, as opposed to the kinds of employment opportunities we've seen, for instance, created through the then, Ramatex, where people were paid starvation wages and were unable to make ends meet. So I think employment is one such. The second, I think, is then opportunities through which young people could be given skills through training, whether this would be vocational training or other forms of training. It depends again also on the situation on the ground. But we feel strongly that whatever hasn't been done, you see, what has been done ever since independence really is, we have all talked about unemployment. Government leaders talk about unemployment, they complain about unemployment. Even the Minister of Labour or Industrialization would complain about unemployment, but they have the responsibility to change it, but they choose not to do anything to change it. And I think the difference in our approach would be changing that. We don't want to talk about it, we want to do something about it.
Yes.
So we are more project-oriented than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Kaaronda, you have quite a task ahead of you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time this evening, and all the best with the tenure that lies ahead for you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
That was Mr. Kaaronda, former unionist, now turned politician, who was elected last weekend as the new president of political party Swanu. We wish him all the best in his endeavors.